Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Jump Scares, because loud, sudden noises are easier than writing a good movie. Let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Siren, extreme privacy for extreme people. Siren beckons. Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers and a musician and producers. And we work a lot around cameras and movies and stuff, or film stuff anyway. And we like to review films and, I don't know, see what we can take away from the movie making process, and then relay, those thoughts on to y'all. And so, I don't know, I kind of want to dive right in. There's a lot of fun conversation, I think, awaiting. So what are we doing, man?
Yeah, so today we are covering 28 years later, The Bone Temple, which at the time of recording this, it just came out. So if you haven't seen the film, please pause this episode, head to the theaters, go see it in theaters, and then come back, because we're going to spoil all the things.
Yeah, we're going to dive into a little bit of the story and writing, talk about humanity in this world of zombie-like people. And also, I want to touch a little bit on the audio mix and maybe the problem with jump scares and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. As Spike is inducted into Jimmy Crystal's gang on the mainland, Dr. Kelson makes a discovery that could alter the world. It's directed by Nia DaCosta, screenplay by Alex Garland, cinematography by Sean Bobbitt, featuring Jack O'Connell as Sir Jimmy Crystal, Alfie William as Spike, Ray Fiennes as Dr. Kelson, and Lewis-Parry as Samson.
Nice. And no soundbite or clip. It was only trailers, and I'm like, I don't feel like dealing with that. And anyway, okay, so you and I, this is an interesting way to release these films, because the last one came out 6 months ago, give or take, and you and I both really liked it. I think love was the word that we both used. It made my top 10 of the year easily, and here we are already back in his universe, because they filmed them back to back, right, with two different directors, but the same writer, so there should be a lot of cohesion. So what did you think stepping back into this world with a fairly different cast, different set of characters, different director at the helm? How did all that land for you?
Yeah, so, I think, because there's going to be another one. Mm-hmm. We already spoiled a bunch of stuff. Yep. There's going to be another one. And I think that for me, well, I'll just say this first. For me, I feel like this fell into the trope of the second one is just a way to get to the third one. In a lot of ways. But that being said, I still enjoyed it. I think that there were several moments that were important and that were necessary, but I feel like there was a lot of stuff around it that just didn't either need to be, it didn't need a whole movie for it, is what I felt like. I felt like what this could have been would have been an awesome show, 6 to 8 episode show between the two movies, right? So you release a show 6 months later, you release a movie 6 months later, you release a 6 episode show, and then 6 months after that, you release the second movie, which will now be the third movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the show, in the last episode of the show, you reintroduced Cillian Murphy, right? That would make me want to go to the theater. You know what I mean? So that's how I felt about this. But I also think that there's a lot of stuff maybe that they wanted to do in it that would have been a little difficult to do streaming. It's just so gory. It's so, there are I don't know, for some reason I had to look away, and that doesn't really happen for me, but the de-shirting scene, I could not watch it. I turned away multiple times in that whole thing, and I just felt like it just went on forever. and yes, I guess it did because it was daytime when they started, and then it's nighttime when they're still working on it and they're exhausted. And I know that's like part of it, but me as a moviegoer, I was just like, oh my gosh, can we just do this and get it over with? Because it's just brutal. Again, I'm not saying that's bad. It was just a lot. I did think that the performances were really great. I think that Jack O'Connell was fantastic. I hated him.
Yeah.
So he was great.
Yeah, right.
He was fantastic. I also liked, I don't know who Lewis-Parry is, but wow. Like, I thought he was unreal. Honestly, he was my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, every time I saw Samson on screen, I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I did like, so for me, most of the movie was introducing the idea that there is a cure for this. Like, there is a way out of this, and that it takes someone like Dr. Kelson who sees humanity in everything. And he's established as that in the first movie, right? So we kind of understand that, but he sees like the positive and the humanity in everything, including something like Samson. And we establish it in the first film that he and Samson he has a relationship with Samson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he gives him a name, and he has experiences with him, right? And I mean, how they go about it is a little weird. I thought like the dancing scenes were just like, wow, okay, all right. But also, I will say, I was thinking about this last night. Sometimes in movies, the situations don't have to be fantastical, right? It can be just Dr. Kelson dies because he gets stabbed. It doesn't have to be some, he's sacrificing himself in an exact moment for someone else, or that he's, gets his head ripped off by Spike because he goes, or by Samson because Samson goes backwards. It can just be because thousands of people get stabbed every day in this environment. So why couldn't he get stabbed? Right. So it doesn't have to be this crazy thing, or that Jimmy kills him in some crazy way. So I was really watching it with putting myself in the place, right? In the this 28 years after this happened and everything, and the craziness of what's going on, and just kind of forgiving anything that's not fantastical, as like something that would normally happen. Because like half of these Jimmies get stabbed, and die. So I think I was expecting some kind of like bigger way he would die, but then when it didn't happen, when he was just stabbed, I was a little like, huh. But then I reminded myself, this happens every day. Like, people get stabbed every day in this environment. So just let it go. Like, that's just part of the story. It doesn't have to be crazy. The jump scares, there were a few, but they weren't crazy for me. There were some where I knew they were coming and they still made me jump out of my skin, like when Jimmy's hanging upside down and then at the very end, something jumps in and, gets him or whatever. But yeah, anyway, I thought it was entertaining. I would have liked to have a little bit more. I think it was really focused on Jimmy, like very focused on Jimmy. And I would have liked to have a little bit more story arc with Spike. I didn't really have a story arc with him. It started really strong with him killing the other Jimmy on accident. Cause I was sitting there wondering at the very beginning, how is he going to get out of this? Like, he's not a killer, but I know he's got to get out of it because I don't know. I just kind of assumed he would get out of it. And then when he hits the artery, I thought, oh, that's a really smart way to get him out of this, where he does one tiny thing, but it kills him. Like, that makes sense. And I think it really establishes the fact that Jimmy is Sir Jimmy is like a real bad guy, because he does nothing to help the other Jimmy, right? Nothing at all. And I think his performance too, not Jack O'Connell, but the other Jimmy, was really good. He was like scared. He was like, outwardly scared. And I thought that was really well done. So we kind of like, we put him in the situation, Spike, and then he's there, and yes, he's warring with what's going on, but of course he is, because this is not him. So I wouldn't expect him to participate at all, right? But he kind of is, because he has to, or else they're going to kill him. So, but there's no real place for him to go in this, in this story. So the story is really about Dr. Kelson and Samson and Jimmy. So yeah, I would have liked a little bit more Spike, honestly. But it was great to see Cillian Murphy at the end there. I knew he was going to be in it at some point, but I didn't know when or how or where or whatever. So I really enjoyed seeing him. And I was like, okay, let's get to the third one now. Now I think the good stuff is going to start. We got Cillian in here. He knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's got a life with his child. That's his child, I guess. Mm-hmm. His life with his child. And they make it work. And they do the hard things. And he's teaching her. He's her teacher. And he's obviously older. It's like, yeah, it's great. So I'm looking forward to the third one, I will say.
Nice. Mostly on the same page. I had a good time overall. I thought it was a shadow of 28 Years Later in terms of my experience going through it. It didn't feel like it knew exactly what it wanted to be. It was trying to be a horror movie, but at the same time, I don't think if you were to sit and just think about the story, it doesn't really lay itself out as a horror film. And so there was like this tonal issue I kept bumping up against, I think. And I don't know, as I was listening to you kind of run through everything, I was starting to think about like, what are the opportunities that were there? And I think, and it's hard to say if this is more of a directing choice or something that's embedded in the script that needed either changing or clarification. But I just wonder if the problem is one of perspective, because I agree. I wanted more Spike, and Alfie Williams is still good. Like, he's still on fire as a child actor, between this and the last movie. And like you said, Jack O'Connell, this dude he's on deck. He is next. Put him in everything. 'Cause God, is he good. And I can't help but wonder if maybe there is an opportunity here. 'Cause here's the thing. I've watched a couple clips from the first part from 20 Years Later, and because I just remembered a number of different things of different approaches, I want to say. And look, I'm not saying Nia DaCosta has to be Danny Boyle. I know she's not trying to be, and she's her own director and all that, which is great, as it should be. But I think there was things, if I'm coming into this, that I might look at and say, are there any boundaries here, or what are the opportunities that are being opened up? Because if you maybe read this script in isolation, you say, oh, this is a straight horror film, or we're in a land of horror, so let's play that. Whereas if maybe I go and watch what Danny Boyle is doing, I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? We don't have to stay inside the boundaries right now. I can color wherever I want to color. And that's going to open up a lot of opportunity, because even just rewatching that opening scene from 28 Years Later, where we first meet Jimmy, the tone in that scene, and I commented on this whenever we covered it, it's not a horror. It's a horror opening visually and story-wise, but the tone that Danny Boyle inserts through the choice of music tells a completely different story. It's telling the emotional side of the loss of innocence. And as Jimmy is losing his innocence in that first movie, in that opening, we then go on to watch Spike also lose his innocence, but come to a completely different situation. We both encounter Spike and Jimmy at the end of their journeys. At the end of the first movie, right? We see Spike became a compassionate person who felt the need to be free of his father. And we also saw Jimmy, also free of his father, be a person who had lost all his humanity. There's really no difference between Jimmy and all the monsters running around out there. And so now we're watching these two people collide for an entire film. And so this is where I think perspective could have really shifted to give us something else, where we're meeting Jimmy, we're hanging out with Jimmy, but we're seeing him purely through the perspective of Spike. is what I think we could have done. I don't think we got that. I think we saw Jimmy through Jimmy's perspective this entire movie. And I think there was a really more thorough conversation that was waiting, whereas you see Spike going through the experience of Jimmy, of someone who's lost his humanity, who's killing for fun, who's raving and stealing and doing all the worst things he can think of, literally, like the imagination of evil on full display. And I don't think we got to see that enough through Spike, because I think there was a conversation here between them that we never actually had, where Spike never got an opportunity to really challenge his worldview. And instead it ends up getting challenged by Kelson, kinda. But even Kelson doesn't really challenge it. Kelson is a do no harm first person. Like, he's not really intervening in anything. He's not intervening with the zombies, right? He's kind of treating them to some degree and then sending them on their way. He's not trying to prevent what they're doing. He's just letting them do their thing. Like, he's really trying to be the neutral Switzerland kind of person. So I don't think that conversation never gets had through him. But there was a conversation there, I think, between Spike and Jimmy that just never got broached. Instead, we kind of dance around it. We see and experience the evil vileness of Jimmy. And we understand eventually his perspective of, I am the son of Satan. This is what I do as the heir. And it's a complete misinterpretation, I think, of what his dad was thinking and feeling as the world fell apart. But I think that's an interesting approach directing-wise that can really shift the entire movie, because I think of certain scenes like the shirt scene that you're talking about, which I had the same problem. Like, I looked away a lot during that.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
No, not at all. And it's one of those things that I think, we've talked about, frequently throughout the pod, which is you can show too much. And it starts to lose its, effect. Which is, I also think, the problem with jump scares. There's a lot of jump scares in this movie. And one of the things I really meant to praise with Danny Boyle's approach in 28 Years Later was was how he mixed his audio. Like, it's not that he's afraid of hitting the jump scare. He's not. But usually he opted for something more subtle. And I've noticed a tendency over the last few years, really the last 3-4 years, more and more horror films are relying on the mix to sell the jump scare more than even in the past. And jump scares have been around with us for since before you and I were born. So it's not a problem in and of itself, but whenever you're relying so heavily on an aggressive sound design and a sound mix, it starts to me to indicate that maybe you have a weak faith in your story. Like, you don't really believe in the story you're telling. And so you're pulling these levers to get this audience engagement. And it's something that I may start to call score and gore. Like, I'm going to show you a bunch of gross stuff and I'm going to jolt you out of your seat with audio. And then that's going to be your experience. You're going to walk away with this crazy thing. Jump scares, ooh. But here's my problem, is once you've made a loud cut, right, where you're showing us something fast in the edit and you're doing something high and crazy in the audio, there's nowhere else to go emotionally. You've peaked. In every way, you've already peaked. So now what do? Right? It's kind of like having a character cry and scream and yell. There's nowhere left to go once you pull that trigger as an actor. Once you're crying and screaming, there's only one other extreme, which is silence and sitting there. You've just left yourself nowhere else to go once you go there. But if you keep the extreme stuff in reserve, then there's still somewhere worse you can take the audience. There's another level of tension you can reach that keeps the audience on its edge, the anticipation of going to a worse place. But if you've already screamed in our ear and flashed gore in our eyes, what else is there? You've jarred us, you've made us flinch, but emotionally you still haven't touched us, and it'll be harder to do it now. because you've pushed us so far to the extreme side of things. And I just noticed just a wildly different approach in directing between these two films. And that really stood out to me as what if she had chosen a different direction? Like, what if during that shirt scene, the approach, instead of laying into the gore and into the horror, what if we had been watching that really purely through Spike's eyes, and you play something sad, and you play something that emotionally lets us feel how far humanity has fallen? And now that's a really different experience. Now we're in horror on a human level. It's not about just, oh, people are getting hurt and there's blood. It's like, man, these are people, and they're doing this to other people. And you can start to really feel a different layer punch you in the stomach. And we get to experience, and that's why Spike is there, to witness it. Because now the empathy, we have a frame of reference, and it's Spike who is this innocent person. And that juxtaposition is so much stronger, I think, than having Spike throw up and go outside and not witness any of it.
Yeah, right. I felt that too. Like, he's outside the entire time, and Sir Jimmy never comes out and is like, Spike, get in here. But you feel like that's exactly what he would do.
Yeah.
And so he gets to just sit out there with the other girl, like that didn't really. Yeah, I completely agree. That's really interesting.
And I think would be in keeping with the story that's being told here, because, okay, one, I wrote the exact same thing you already said, so I'll just very quickly touch on the idea of Spike killing that guy with a leg stab. Genius. I think that's such a clever use of anatomy to let the weaker character win. And to your point, it also revealed so much about Jimmy. Like, this guy really don't care about nobody. He's about to let anyone get it. Cool. But largely, I thought the story was really interesting whenever you're looking at Samson. And I agree, man. Everything with Samson on screen was thrilling. Like, I was just on the edge of my seat. Like, is it going to wear it off? Is this the moment where we see him pull, his head off? Like, because watching those moments in the first film, it'll leave a mark like that. Just, yeah. I don't forget that. Right. But I loved it also because of what it revealed about Kelson, right? He took a risk when he starts treating Samson and spending time with him and joining him. He imbibed too. It wasn't like he was just watching him. He's like, okay, yeah, let's relax together. And he does it, and he wakes up and he's like, I still have my body. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's really cool. Like, he bet, and this is the thematic level that this movie is trying to get at, is that he bet on Samson's humanity remaining beneath the rage virus. That's really cool. And Jimmy he also has the rage virus, right? It's just not the same one that everyone else has. And I feel like this is a whole commentary about our world today, and I think we touched on this last episode, is the idea that our world, this is just being overlaid on top of our world. The 28 years universe is our universe. It's there in symbolism, metaphorically, right? We are all lately, for the last decade, being like completely rage babies, right? Everything triggers us. We're upset with each other all the time. We can't have civil conversation, and you're just entrenched. No matter what someone else says to you, it's not going to change your mind. It's not going to change you. And so Jimmy and Samson are just two different aspects of the same idea. They're both infected. They've both been impacted by the virus, and just in radically different ways. One is literally infected with it, and one is just spiritually infected with it. And so there's all these kind of interesting conversations. There's this conversation between, is it Jimmy Inc.? I forget all the little Jimmyettes names. They're all named Jimmy.
The fingers.
Yeah, the fingers. One of the fingers looks at Dr. Kelson. She says, "You're not old Nick." And his response is, no, nothing is. No one is. There's just us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very pointed, beautiful, like, comment. Like, there is no Satan. There is no devil. There is no ultimate
up, stop
evil.
looking down. Yeah.
Yeah. That's perfectly said. And they go on whenever he suddenly changes everything, right? He's laying out the rules, and he's just doing what he needs to survive to keep doing what he does. Again, I think that points at the direction of Kelson as this completely neutral figure. Like, Jimmy is over here saying, you're going to play the part of Satan. He's like, you know what? Done. He does not resist at all. He goes along with it. But the moment he sees Spike as one of the fingers, changes everything. He's like, okay, if people want to go along with you, great. That's between y'all and the rest of the world. But I know that kid, and that kid is not here because he wants to be here. Then he changes everything, and then once all that's kind of resolved, he tells them, I saw it was you behind the mask, Spike. I thought you had suffered enough. Like, I couldn't let you keep experiencing this. And so, again, that's a symbolic gesture. Spike had a mask on, but he knew that wasn't who you really are. Samson also has a mask on. It's the rage virus. And he's looking beneath the mask and saying, I still see humanity there. That's not who you really are. I don't know what to do about it, though. Spike, he knew what to do. With Samson, he was working it out, and eventually he figured it out, or so he hoped. He never got to really see whether or not it worked. He just crossed his fingers.
Well, he did. He did, right?
When
Samson picks him up, he says, thank you.
That's right. That's right. At the very end there. That's right. You're right.
I was because I was hoping, I was like, okay, is Samson because he comes out of the train and he's like yells, whatever. I'm like, oh, gosh, darn it. He's back. But then when he comes and picks him up I was hoping that the doctor would be able to see that it worked.
Had his own.
That they gave him that
faith rewarded.
Yeah.
Oh, and then of course at the very, very end, we line back up. We get back with Jim, who is the alter ego, in a manner of speaking, of Sir Jimmy Crystal, because these are two people who survived the rage virus, but psychologically have been affected by it. Right? Jimmy went crazy, and now Jim, the OG from 28 Days, is with his daughter. Now we get to see how's he holding up. He sees Spike, and he sees Jimmy Inc. Running, and his daughter asks, do we help them? Of course we do. They grab their guns, and that's where we end, right? They're just like Kelson. They're still betting on humanity despite it all. Despite everything they've seen, they're still in it, fighting for humanity. That's really cool. And so this movie had a direction that it was trying to go, story-wise anyway. And it's so interesting to me that directorial choices can really change everything. Now, it's still a good movie, and this stuff that I'm talking about is still there. It's not like it got erased, but it's just a matter of you can pull a lever to enhance it and lean into it even further, or you can redirect and create a thriller. Like, this is still a thrilling movie. It's not like it was just a bad experience. It's just a personal taste. Like, for me, I want the emotional journey, and I want the emotional connection with these characters. But a lot of audiences are showing up loving this. So I'm not, poo-pooing it at all. It's to me, again, just a fascination of the person behind it all and where they choose to focus, because perspective really is so important. And I think focusing and anchoring further into Spike and Kelson just leads you down a completely different path anyway. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. And I agree. I do think that so in the first 28 years later, one of the reasons why we loved it so much is because it wasn't totally about the zombies. Like, it was about, humanity and Spike specifically, and his relationship with his mother, and finding out that his father is not who he thought he was, right? And so like it's multi-layered, and we are multi-layered, and that's why I think that we liked it so much, right? Or one of the reasons. And I think you're right in so many aspects of what you just said. And one of the things like is when they're sitting by, when Dr. Kelson and Jimmy, Sir Jimmy, are sitting by the river and they're having that conversation, right? And he's like, okay, so I'm atheist and you're Satanist, right? I feel like, and look, I'm not a writer. You're a writer, so you can tell me if this is legit or not. I feel like there was a moment missed here because if it was just Dr. Kelson speaking from his perspective of what it was like before the virus 28 years ago, and Jimmy's experience of what he went through when it happened, right? Like running to the church and stuff, and and what happened to his mom and his sister. And you and I, we really like things like we like debates, or not necessarily just debates, but we like perspectives of someone who is definitely this and someone who is definitely this. And I feel like we didn't really get, like, basically Dr. Kelson didn't challenge Jimmy enough in my mind.
Agreed.
In that communication. It wasn't a challenge. It was like, here's my perspective. Here's your perspective. I'm going to kill you if you don't help me. Okay, I'll help you. That was the whole conversation in a nutshell is what it felt like. But what it could have been is before Dr. Kelson knows that he is definitely going to die if he doesn't help Jimmy, challenge Jimmy, right? On his worldviews, on his perspective. Because who better to do it than someone who was existed before the virus, who knows what the world used to be, who has that experience and is so smart and so loving and so introspective of others. Then Dr. Kelson, he would be the perfect one to do that and to start to pull Jimmy in, but then Jimmy fall back and basically rely on violence to win the argument, right? Like, you've challenged me in a way where everybody watching is on your side, and yet if you don't do what I say, I'm going to kill you. And then that just shows you Jimmy's anchor is in violence and death, and Kelson's anchor is in logic, reason, and kindness, right? I mean,
yeah.
But I didn't have that experience in that conversation. I really wanted that. Like, that was like, oh my God, Jimmy's talking to, So anyway, that was, I think, for me, the biggest miss. Yes, I would have liked more Spike, but if this is a story about evil versus, we could say good, or evil versus not evil, then it comes down to that moment, that conversation at the river.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I mean, that would be a great place to, start to bring out the worldviews and then the stakes of, okay, you can be as good and nice as you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to do what I say, because...
Exactly. Because then he does. And I understand it too, because what we just witnessed them do, I'm like, please just do what he says.
Absolutely. Because this is I think a worthwhile conversation in terms of people who are more capable of violence or more readily willing to be the most violent tend to have more power. But it doesn't mean they necessarily get to win all the time, which of course he didn't end up winning. And so, I think there is another sub conversation to be had within that, just about the tool of violence and different ways it can destroy your humanity versus destroy you. It's winning for a short time, but ultimately a losing philosophical approach to getting what you want. And there was an opportunity there to kind of explore that maybe a little bit, but that's maybe splitting hairs on my end for sure.
No, I mean, maybe not. I mean, we know Alex Garland is an excellent writer, so I'm not questioning Alex Garland's motives at all. I'm just saying that would have been a nice moment, you know.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I think you agree.
And yeah, I'm watching.
I did have a
Dims
question.
right now.
What did you think of the soundtrack? Because there's a soundtrack.
There is
to
a
this,
soundtrack.
This film.
I mixed. I will say I love the Megadeth use. I thought that was freaking awesome. But personally, I think I would have rather heard something made more specifically for the movie and some of those other drops. Look, we've talked about that very song before within the past 2 years. Radiohead,
Everything in its right place.
yes, because it was used in The Creator as well, and I'm like, look, that's never gonna make something worse. You know, it's just
right.
one of those beautiful
good
songs
yes.
of all
Yes.
time. I just feel like I want a more pure, like, this is handcrafted for this movie. If you're gonna build something within the world that's like diegetic, then the Megadeth thing is a great way to do that. But all the other tracks that were just dropped in, I'm like, no, get something more original. For me, especially that song, like, it just pulls me out, and I'm thinking about Radiohead more than I'm thinking about the movie. But I don't know, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean,
Overall.
you said it really perfectly. It's not going to make it worse to hear everything in its right place anywhere, ever. Do 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 boom boom. It's iconic and will always forever be. But I do agree. I think it was just. I think what was one of the songs was it Duran Duran? I don't know.
I can't remember.
But there were so many other songs where, yes, I like that song a lot, but does it have to be, can it be on in the background while he's working? And they do this. They kind of like move it into focus and then out of focus and into focus and out of focus sometimes, meaning like sounding like it's in the room, ambient, and then, you know, in focus, meaning it's all you hear. And I feel like you can do that kind of stuff ambiently in the room, play the record in the room, however you want. You know, you can play. I mean, I don't think you can necessarily get away with everything in its right place ambiently, because that is like anytime you hear it, you want to hear the clarity of it. Like, I wouldn't want to hear that ambiently in a room. I want to hear that in the entire auditorium. But like the other songs, I feel like could have been just him in his little bunker working, and you're hearing it ambiently. Yeah. And that's a completely different experience, because I'm experiencing it how the character is experiencing it, not how I'm experiencing it as the viewer. And so I think that was my problem, was just like, it was the soundtrack. It became the soundtrack when it became, you know, full focus, loud. So it didn't land with me at all. And I just wish it would have been, you know, more artistically placed and used than it was.
Yeah, I think diegetically makes a lot of sense. And diegetics is just the word we use for characters can hear something or see something or not, like the elements of something being heard by them. And so, yeah, whenever he's working, I love that. Like, if he's in his room and he's working, yeah, play it there, and then it makes sense why we're hearing that song, and then something that's more like layered on top for the audience. Then yeah, but yeah. So I think I'll stop harping. Like, that's
okay.
Yeah. What did you think of that dance sequence? Ray Fiennes going crazy as Satan, dancing to Megadeth, wearing a fire suit. I don't know what that is, but that was freaking epic. Didn't work.
I'm mixed. I think it was amazing. Ray Fiennes, like, he was fantastic in it. And I remember like, because I didn't even know this movie was coming out until you said, hey, we should watch it or we should cover it. And I'm like, okay, where do I see this? And then And then I realized, oh my God, it's in theaters. I had no idea. And the poster of it is him just like this, with his arms out wide, and there's the big bone temple behind him. I'm like, what is it about Samson, or about Dr. Kelson? Okay, cool. So I was waiting the whole time to kind of like get that scene, and then I finally get it. And when I think the best part for me is when the song is playing and he's like crawling up, like doing all of these bodily contortions, crawling up with all the fire behind him to the altar where he jumps onto it. I was in, and the whole paint around the eyes and in his mouth and stuff is just so great.
Hitting everyone with opium, like.
Yes. Oh yeah, it was perfect. That was perfect. I hate hairband metal. I just freaking hate it. I like. There's nothing about it that is endearing to me. It drives me crazy. I think it's the worst stage of music that we've ever had in humanity. That's just my feeling. As a musician, I effing can't stand it. So I just checked out of the song and just paid attention to Ray Fiennes, and that was fantastic. He was amazing in it. What he did was incredible, and I don't know if they choreographed that or if they were just like, okay, go wild, and he just did that. I wouldn't put it past him. He's that good to do, to just nail it.
I completely agree about like hair bands being just the freaking worst, and I think that's hilarious and accurate to call it the lowest point of all music of all time.
I think it really is.
I think that's why I liked it though, is because they made the scene funny to me, like humorous and like crazy. I think I was just thinking from the aspect of, if you'd been wandering around in the wilderness for the last 30 years, haven't heard any music, and then the first thing you hear is Megadeth, that just struck me as really funny. And so I was entertained, and that for me was all I really needed out of that sequence. Is because
I think you're right. I thought that too. I thought, man, if I was trying to convince these people who haven't heard music ever in their entire lives that I was Satan, I would probably play something like Megadeth or something like that. So completely agree there.
That's awesome.
But me as a viewer, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I freaking hate this. But yes, he did amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I love Ray Fiennes. Anytime you get him on screen, I'm pretty sold already. Nice. Anything we didn't cover that you want to touch on?
No, I think we touched on it all. I am waiting for the pregnant woman to come back at some point. I don't think that she necessarily will, because we had such a long time between her, punching Spike in the stomach and running off, and the end of the film. I think that she's probably gone. I was happy that she did that, by the way. We could just say that out loud.
Yeah.
I know Spike was like gonna let her go, but take me with you after I've been a part of a group that's just done what? No. I'm so glad that she hit him and ran off. It would have been better if she stabbed him, maybe he didn't die, but he like felt pain, like pain that doesn't go away in 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
That's a great
call.
But
anyway, that was interesting, and it was totally fine because, like I said earlier, things just happen in this world, and we need to be okay with some of them being crazy and, nuts, and some of them being not crazy and just like, oh, so-and-so got stabbed and now they're dead, Okay. And I think that's just one of them. This is a storyline that just was a method to get them to do this terrible thing so that we know what they're all about. And then now she's gone, kind of thing. And I'm glad they didn't kill her. Pregnant lady. Like, look, I'm all for experiencing real stuff in a theater, but there are some things that I don't want to experience, and that would be one of them. And so I'm glad they didn't go down that route, but it was just brutal, as in, and I don't remember, maybe the first one was as brutal, but I don't remember it being like that. I remember Like if there was some brutality or like some gore, it was just moments. You know, it was just like, but we hung in this space for so long, and just, it was uncomfortably felt unnecessary to me in the edit. But yeah, just me.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. And great call on the pregnant woman, like bashing him. And yeah, a little stab would be a good reminder, as it, starts to scar up, and it's like, hey, remember that time?
Good point.
You let all this stuff happen to these people. Now at the same time, like, he probably felt defenseless, and he probably was to a large degree. One on whatever that is, 5 crazy psychos, twice your size. Yeah. But at the same time, that is a good way to leave a reminder for, like, I need to do better. And just a sense of responsibility. Not that he could have done anything differently, but that feeling of I should have.
Yes, exactly. So that when he's bigger and older, he has that to remember of what he was a part of.
Yeah.
Whether he could have done anything about it or not didn't matter.
Exactly.
He was still a part of it, Yeah. That would have been, I don't know. That would have been great.
I am curious what happens now, because Alex Garland hasn't written the new script yet. So this third one won't be able to get started until, who knows, later this year, early next year, which means, do you account for a growth in Spike? Because, Alfie Williams he's probably like 12 or 13, right? He's a young dude, and he's about to hit, a big growth spurt, I assume, as a teenager. And I'm curious, like, we can't just pick up right there in the field again, right?
No.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
God, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, release this over the summer, while you're shooting the third one, so that we've had a year, and now we're going to have another year. Oh man, now I got to wait a year and a half.
And from what I've read, and I checked before we started the show, apparently Danny Boyle is going to finish the third one. He'll do the third one, and so he'll be back on.
He should.
Yeah, that'll be because he started this whole thing, 20 some odd years ago, and now let's see him put a bow on this thing. Him and Alex doing it together. That'll be fun. I was glad that we saw Killian. Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know where we were going when we were doing that drone shot over the water and to the field and stuff. And then when I heard his voice, I like knew almost instantly. I was like, oh, yes, it was a good moment to have after all that brutality and everything, to like end with a little bit of like familiarity.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm curious, because I kept waiting to see if Naomie Harris, is it Claire? I always forget her name in the movie. I was waiting to see if she was going to pop up, and she didn't. It was just the little girl, and so now I'm like, oh man, did she die? Did she go for help and just never come back? Maybe she got out and they wouldn't let her back onto the island, because at some point, right, they did a quarantine, and now no one can leave. So I'm curious what the backstory is of what happened between then and now. But we got a while to wait, though, to see how this whole thing resolves.
All right. Well,
so it goes. Final thoughts, man?
So it goes. Again, I think this is just a way to the third one, but we don't have a third one yet, so I don't know. I think there was some really great points in it, but also some missed notes. That's all. Nice. It's amazing how much directing can really. I mean, that's an obvious statement, but like when you can see it on a page, like from 28 years later to this one, to the second one, a lot of there's some of the differences in the writing, but a lot of the differences in the directing and the choices with sound and everything, and it's just amazing to see, honestly. So.
Pretty cool. Nice. What are you going to recommend this week?
I didn't really have much that I was super excited about, but I did watch, and I enjoyed it. I did watch The Rip on Netflix, the new Matt Damon, Ben Affleck film, and yeah, it is definitely, it's like a Netflix movie, right? It's not like, I don't think it would have done well in the theaters, but it is entertaining and it keeps you on your toes, and there's a lot going on, and you don't know you have to follow it really closely to pay attention to stuff. And I think it's one of those ones where, like, if you do a second viewing, you would probably see a lot more. But yeah, and it's just always good to see Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on screen together. I just really always enjoy that. So I'll recommend The Rip.
Nice. I'm going to recommend a movie called Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. This is a Finnish fantasy action horror comedy. So
all the things, all the genres.
Everything all at once. It's a wild story. It's very entertaining. Basically, Santa Claus has been excavated during some kind of archaeological dig. They uncover this thing, and it turns out to be Santa Claus, and he's evil as hell. And so it turns into this very crazy, like, what is happening right now? Very entertaining. And so if you want something that's a little on the horror side, but also very heavy on the action side and, big imagination, yeah, go check out Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. And
I'm going to definitely watch that. Is it streaming somewhere? Like, what?
Good question.
Do I have to rent it?
I wonder if it is streaming anywhere, because I think whenever I originally saw it, it was maybe in theaters. Oh, it's streaming in a billion places. Probably none of the main places, though.
Okay.
But you can probably find it for free somewhere.
Okay.
Stay tuned for next week. We go way back to one of the earliest stories. We're going to go visit Brad Pitt and Eric Bana and a host of other people in the movie Troy. So if you haven't seen Troy, you better get out your bubble and check that out. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe, drop us a review, leave us a note, something you want us to cover. And if you want to comment on this episode in particular, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/thebonetemple.
And our quote of the day is from Carl Sagan. Anytime you pull up a Carl Sagan quote, for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. So great. I mean, isn't it crazy that was it last week? I can't remember that I think we talked about, was it last week or the week before? I talked about this quote from Vision from WandaVision about grief is love persevering, and it's just like all of these like quotes about love. Like, love is this thing that, and we love Interstellar, right? It's this thing that, like, you love people who have died. Where's the utility in that, right? It's the one thing that expands. It doesn't matter the distance. It doesn't matter time. It doesn't matter it exists everywhere all the time. And it's just, this is such an incredible quote, because yes, I feel like if I try to think of the vastness of space and the universe, I get overwhelmed so much. And the thing that calms me down is my loving my family, loving you, loving, the things that are around me that I have. Like, it just kind of like resettles me a lot. And so I don't know how to put that in words until I read this quote. It was like, yeah, that makes total sense.
That's awesome.
Great quote.
Yeah, I picked it just to hear what you would say. So that's all I got.
Oh, really? Really? I love you.
Love you too.
There you go. Amazing. Well, do you have anything to say to that? Like, no? Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I had a great time. I didn't think the ending of this was going to oh God. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I know I love talking about it. Make sure to subscribe and wherever you get your podcast, review us wherever you get them. And share this with your friends. It all helps a lot. And if there's a film you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart, share it with us. We'd love to talk about it. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies.